The visa for Novak Djokovic has been cancelled. Obviously that follows a review of the exemption which was provided through the Victorian government process. They were looking at the integrity and the evidence behind it. The advice I have, and if I can just quote it for you, is the ABF can confirm that Mr Djokovic failed to provide appropriate evidence to meet the entry requirements to Australia, and visa has been subsequently cancelled. So it's a matter for him whether he wishes to appeal that, but if a visa is cancelled, somebody will have to leave the country. I do know that right throughout, as a Commonwealth, as a national government, as an Australian government, the Prime Minister has been clear that Australians have had to do it tough, and Australian in many different states and territories has to show their vaccination record, in some cases to enter premises and cafes and other things. And it's not unreasonable to have exactly the same requirements of all who enter this country. So fair and equitable for all, and the requirements were not able to be met. There was an exemption that had been provided through the Victorian government process. Clearly that did not pass the standards of proof that were required by the Australian Border Force. Yes, it's tough, but it's fair and it's equitable, and it's one rule for all under this Australian government.
Now finally, on the issue of Mr Djokovic, rules are rules, and there are no special cases. Rules are rules. It's what I said to you yesterday. That's the policy of the government, and has been our government's strong border protection policies, and particularly in relation to the pandemic, that has ensured that Australia has one of the lowest death rates from COVID anywhere in the world. We were one of the first countries to move on shutting our borders. We were criticised at the time, but it was the right decision, and we have maintained those important border controls over the entire period of the pandemic. We have tightened them even further on occasion. Again, we were criticised for doing that, but it was the right decision. And we will continue to make the right decisions when it comes to securing Australia's borders in relation to this pandemic. Now, our government has strong form when it comes to securing our borders. I don't think anybody doubts that, and they know that I, both as Prime Minister Treasurer and particularly as Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, have a very strong view on this. And I want to thank the Australian Border Force officers for doing their job, implementing the government's policies. The ABF has done their job. Entry with a visa requires double vaccination or a medical exemption. I'm advised that such an exemption was not in place, and as a result, he is subject to the same rule as anyone else. I also want to stress that ultimately, this is the responsibility of the traveller. It is for the traveller to be able to assert and back up their ability to come into the country consistent with our laws. So they'll take advice from many places. No advice was provided by the Commonwealth Government, I underscore, but they will take advice, but it's up to them at the end of the day. And if they don't comply with the rules, then the Australian Border Force will do their job, and they have done their job. This is nothing about any one individual. It is simply a matter of following the rules. And so those processes will take their course over the next few hours, and that event will play out as it should.
When was the last time you spoke to Novak, and what did he tell you? And how do you feel as a mother today?
I spoke today with him a couple of hours ago. He was good. We didn't spoke a lot, but we spoke a few minutes. And he was trying to sleep, but he couldn't. As a mother, what can I say? If you are a mother, you can just imagine how can I feel. I feel terrible since yesterday, last 24 hours, that they are keeping him as a prisoner. It's just not fair. It's not human. So I just hope that he will be strong, as we are trying also to be very strong, to give him some energy to keep on going. I hope that he will win. Terrible. Terrible accommodation. It's just some small immigration hotel, as we can, if it's hotel at all, with some bugs, it's so dirty, and the food is so terrible. So what can I say? They don't want to give him any chance to move on to some better hotel or house that he already rented. But we hope we will manage somehow.